Babes, I'm sorry, but you are fake as if the first thing you do is hang up from talking to your girlfriend on the phone and you start making statements like, I just wish she would call somebody else. She is getting on my nerve. I'm sick of hearing the same thing. If she calls me one more time with the same issue, we are going to have a problem. Let me ask you a question though. Have you expressed this to her? Have you tried having a conversation with this friend to see if maybe there are potentially some other underlying issues going on? Friendship is a two-way street. We should all be well aware of this by now. But that means that in every single friendship that you have, you are responsible for being both person A and B. Person A is going to be the person who sets boundaries in place, but then you also need to be person B, the person who holds themselves accountable for not toxic dumping onto that other friend. Welcome back, my loves. Thank you so much for clicking on today's video. As you already can see from the title and from the opening statements that I've just made, we are getting into a conversation about friendships, specifically not toxic dumping onto our friends. But before we do, definitely make sure you hit that subscribe button only if you are feeling the vibes here. Because remember, I'm not gonna beg y'all to be here. I want y'all to be here because y'all want to be here. Hit that subscribe button if you are feeling the vibes, and especially if you are somebody who is really into like just self-love, self-growth, having transformation in your life, leveling up, and just really and truly elevating inside and out, then this is the place for you. But enough rambling, let's go ahead and get into today's conversation. I want to kick things off by saying I consider myself a high value woman, and no, this does not mean that I think I'm better than anybody else. I know some people hear the term high value and they immediately think, oh, she thinks she better than everybody. She got her nose in her ear. It's not that. I promise y'all I'm not that kind of person. I just like to have very certain things in place. I like to have certain values in place for myself. I just like what I like. For me, as a 30-something-year-old trying to create more peace in my life, trying to create my luxury life, and you guys already know how I feel about luxury. And if you don't, you can definitely pop over to this video. But being at this stage in my life, I've placed certain standards on my friendships. So one of those standards that I have set in place is I will no longer be anybody's emotional dumping ground. I just will not do it. I made that opening statement the way that I did because I feel like in some friendships, we get a little nervous to tell our true feelings. But honestly, if you are truly friends and you truly have built a bond over the years, you should be able to have conversations where you have to tell the other person that you are uncomfortable with how the conversations have been. Now, obviously, when we are having these types of conversations, somebody is bound to get their feelings hurt. Let's just call it what it is. Somebody's going to end up giving that very defensive response because they feel attacked. But again, if you are truly friends and you have a strong bond, at the end of the day, it's all love and you feel like both sides had a chance to be heard. If this is a standard you feel like you need to implement as well, that standard of not being someone's emotional dumping ground, then let's go ahead and break down what toxic dumping looks like. But honestly, it ain't like it's that hard to recognize. Toxic dumping might look like that constant venting and complaining, for example. And this is not a situation where something just happened and you're talking about it or talking it over for, a few days or something. I'm talking about a repeated venting and complaining for months on end. That is what I'm talking about. It might look like shooting down encouragement with constant negativity. Some of us have that Debbie Downer friend, okay? Some of us have had or currently have that Debbie Downer friend who just seems like they cannot see the light at the tunnel. They can't see any light at all. It's just constant negativity, like negative remarks, negative comments, negative responses every time you try to give encouragement or try to uplift that person. If you're someone who has been receiving the toxic dumping, that might look like you playing their therapist all the time. You're doing a job and you're not even getting paid for it, and you're just getting stressed in your own personal life from what that person is dumping onto you. Toxic dumping might look like someone who is trying to release their baggage with urgency, like being around somebody who feels like you should pick up the phone every time they call. You should respond to their text immediately every time that they text you. They know that you're busy. They know you have your own personal things going on, but yet they interrupt your life because they feel like their needs are more urgent. And this can be a person who is a self-centered conversationalist. They are venting without reciprocating. So the whole conversation all the time is me, I, but this person not once asks you how you are, what is going on in your life, can they help with anything? They don't allow you that opportunity to vent like they dump on you. So if you've noticed, I've been giving perspectives from both sides. I've been giving the perspective from the person who is doing the toxic dumping, and I've also been giving the perspective of the person who is receiving the toxic dumping. And I am doing this because toxic dumping significantly impacts both parties involved. First off is that potential resentment that can come into play. Like, how awful would it be to end up despising somebody, basically hating somebody that you used to have so much love for? That's an awful feeling, and that's not even something I've experienced. Secondly, you guys have to understand both of you are going to be impacted with mental exhaustion. Let's be clear. When you have mental exhaustion, it's not compartmentalized. It's not like, oh, I'm just mentally exhausted in this one area. No, it doesn't work like that. You are going to be mentally exhausted in every single area of every single area. You are going to be mentally exhausted in every single area of your life. I'm sorry, y'all, I was talking too fast. Now it starts affecting your other friendships. Now it starts affecting your marriage. Now it starts affecting your kids, your career, your, anything that you have going on, the commitment to your goals. Now you're mentally exhausted with everything, and now it's impacting your whole entire life. You could potentially get to a point where you just don't even want to have conversations with anyone anymore because you fear being triggered and you fear having all of that put onto you again, like maybe some of the previous friendships that toxic dumped on you. So now you find yourself isolated. Now, when you need to vent, you're not venting. This is unhealthy for you. So now it's like you go into isolation because of different triggers in place. This is not healthy. Like I said, one of the biggest things that we have to understand is to have a happy and fulfilling life. Friendships are very much so a part of that. So how do we actually deal with the toxic dumping and remove it from our lives? The first option that you have is to just rip the Band-Aid off and have the very hard conversation. I told you guys before, I don't do these videos just off a whim. Either I have gone through it or I'm currently experiencing something and I am sharing my thoughts about what is going on. I had a very close friend who had a lot of personal things going on in her life, and I wanted to be as supportive as I possibly could be. Well, then not only was all of that stuff going on, then she lost a parent. And when she lost the parent, on top of everything else, it was very, very hard for her. She was going through a very bad time. Of course, she had her grieving process, and I did not want to, I knew she was going through things. So I felt like I had to amplify my support. I didn't need her to worry about me. I needed to focus on her to make sure that she was in a better spot. But after about 2 years, it was just becoming a lot for me. It was like I was getting phone calls every day. I was getting, just having these long conversations all the time. I felt like about the same thing. And this was separate from her parent passing. This was the other stuff that was going on. But I just got to a point where I was like, I just can't take this anymore. And we had a conversation one day. And I said, I am sorry, I love you, but I feel like you are such a toxic friend to me right now. And like I said earlier, oh, her feelings was definitely hurt, baby. She definitely did not want to understand. She definitely got on the defensive mode. But what happened was, after she had time to let that settle in, after she had time to hear why I was saying those things, she understood what I meant. So now she's very mindful of the stuff that she shares. Now she's very mindful to say, you know what, I want to make sure that I'm not being that toxic friend. I want to make sure that I'm dealing with what I need to do on my own before I bring it to you. Other ways that you could deal with toxic dumping, if you don't want to rip the Band-Aid off, I completely understand. Maybe start suggesting activities that that friend can do to try to pull them away from the stress that's going on. I'm getting tongue-tied, y'all. The stress that's going on in their lives. So running, walking, going to work out. Obviously, getting the body moving is definitely going to be a way that you can relieve stress and try to just zen out for a minute. Get your mind away from being in that space that triggers you, because sometimes we have to realize whatever space we're in can be triggering as well. So maybe you need to remove yourself from that environment temporarily. I don't know if you want to sage, pray over your room, do whatever you have to do. Get away from that space and go run, go for a walk, go to just clear your mind with a workout, painting, or journaling. Painting is a great way to get your mind at ease and put you in a peaceful spot. And you don't have to be a painter, okay? You don't even have to be a drawer. All right, you can slap some paint on the board and call it good. Cooking, deep cleaning, going on a hike if you live somewhere with hills and mountains and things like that. Go rock climbing at a local rock climbing facility. Just do something. When you bring that focus and awareness in, now you can kind of sort through your thoughts in a way that is going to be helpful and not harmful, because sometimes when we are dealing with situations and we're trying to analyze everything, we're not thinking clearly. So if you do some of these activities first, or suggest doing some of these activities, that way you can give your mind a break. You can really analyze what's going on and come to a conclusion that is going to be helpful for you in the long run. The last way that you deal with toxic dumping is you need to realize when you need to encourage someone to get professional help. When I realized that my friend was toxic dumping, I encouraged her to go to a therapist or go to a counselor. She was grieving. She was dealing with a lot of things going on in her personal life. She was dealing with childhood traumas that she was still hanging on to. I can't help you at that point. I suggested that she go to someone who could help her sort through some of those childhood traumas, sort through some of the issues that was going on in her life, and then get some guidance on how to deal with grief in her life. So you have to recognize the signs. You have to recognize when your friend is not okay. Listen, empathy and support is an absolute must when it comes to maintaining healthy friendships. Yes, we very much so need to practice active listening. And yes, we want to give our support without enabling that toxic behavior. But most importantly, you need to have an understanding of what type of approach each of your different friends need. By nature, I am a calm person. And on top of being a calm person by nature, I have been intentionally focusing on bringing more peace into my life, like I already told you guys. The reason that I was able to rip that Band-Aid off and come to my friend and say, I believe you are toxic dumping and your energy is just very toxic right now, I was able to have that conversation with her because I knew the approach that I needed to take. I already knew she was going to get defensive. I already knew she was going to get upset and she wasn't going to understand. But rather than just hitting her with all kind of attitude and stuff, I came to her in a calm manner. I told her as best I could, as thorough as I could, all of the reasons why I was telling her that she was toxic. And in the end, the reason that she was able to come back weeks later and say, you know what, I do understand what you're saying, because I came to her in a calm approach. If you are somebody who doesn't yet have that control yet and you kind of mouthy or you can get a little snappy, you might not want to take that approach. It's a good thing to evaluate all of your friendships to know exactly what type of approach you need to take. And lastly, we need friendships where both parties, okay, not just one, both parties need to feel heard and both parties need to be supported. It has to be a reciprocal relationship in order for it to be a lifelong friendship. And that's what we want, is to have healthy, long-lasting friendships. It is absolutely imperative that you clearly communicate what your boundaries are. That way there is no room for error and no room for misinterpretation. You need to be very clear and concise in what your personal boundaries are. My friends know, baby, I am always here, okay? I am a phone call away, a text away, around the block, or 20 minutes down the highway. I am readily available when I need to be. But I have most certainly put some healthy boundaries in place for myself because, again, I'm a 30-something-year-old trying to create peace and trying to create luxury, and that is my priority. God is my priority. My family is my priority. Peace of mind and creating my luxury life is my priority. So yes, I have to put boundaries in place so that I can create that peace that I am trying to obtain in my life. One of my healthy boundaries is I am going to let you know from jump, I am not always going to be on your side. Do not call me and expect me to always just jump on your bandwagon and say, oh, you're right, you're never wrong. Nope, it's not happening. I am going to call you out when you need it. just like I expect for you to call me out when I'm doing something wrong. So no more sugarcoating, no more just telling you what you want to hear. I'm going to let you know that I might not always be on your side, but for me, that is a healthy relationship. Another one of my healthy boundaries that you can most certainly steal is you can be very clear from the jump and say, you know what? When you ask for my opinion, don't get offended when I give it to you, because sometimes we ask for an opinion, but then again, we feel like somebody's supposed to lie to us and just tell us what we want to hear. I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear. I'm going to tell you the truth. And lastly, to go ahead and wrap up the video, one of my other healthy boundaries that I have put into place is I am going to ask you, have you weighed out the pros and cons of the situation that you're trying to talk to me about? Here's the thing. I'm not going to be responsible for anybody's choices. I'm not going to have a situation where you come back and you say, well, when I talked to you, you said this is what you thought I should do, so that's what I did. No, we're not doing that. You are going to be responsible for your own choices. The only thing that I'm here to do is give support, give love, give encouragement, give my opinion when asked for, but I'm not going to tell you what to do, and I don't expect for you to, how do I want to say this? Am I saying that backwards? I don't want the other person to expect to get answers from me. So I want to create that healthy boundary that when something happens, sit on it for a second. Allow yourself your own time to process things, just as I will do for myself, instead of just hurrying up and, girl, this is what happened. No. Think about it first, and then when you come to me, let's analyze it. Let's talk about it. Let's break it down so that whatever decision you make, it is a decision that is beneficial for you. So I really hope that you guys enjoyed today's conversation. Comment down below. Tell me if you have had a toxic dumping type situation. Are you still friends with that person? What did you do to kind of come out of that? Definitely get involved in the conversation below. But like I said, thank you guys so much for being here. As always, know that I appreciate the support so much. Know that every time y'all click a video, that y'all like a video, that y'all comment, that everything, I appreciate everything. I appreciate it all. I really do. So I love y'all so much. And yeah, I guess we will hang out on my next video. Hopefully I see you there. So until next time, love. Bye.